This is disrespectful as everybody is sleeping on the New York Islanders heading into the next NHL season. We're going to discuss why on this episode of Islanders Digest because I think there are several reasons to be optimistic as a fan going into this season that people who are projecting the future of the NHL just aren't seeing. At this point, most people expect the Islanders to have a bright future eventually, but for next season, I think the Islanders are really getting slept on. I think this can turn around a lot quicker than people are thinking. No, I don't think the Islanders are one of the better teams in the NHL next season. I think the peak for them is a wild card berth. I don't think there is much more than that on this current roster. But just looking at the projections, the Islanders, they're getting disrespected. This is a post by Jay Fresh, and I will point out Jay Fresh uses only analytics to make these rankings, something I actually really appreciate. It is really interesting to see the Islanders ranked this low, but there is one thing that Jay Fresh has mentioned was not factored in this projection, and that is input from rookie players. You can't really project what a rookie is going to do in the NHL, and because that is omitted, and that is why I think the Islanders are perhaps one of the most slept on teams in the entire NHL, other than on this list, the Montreal Canadiens. I think Montreal Canadiens fans would be absolutely miserable if Montreal finishes just 1 point ahead of the Islanders at 82 points. These are two teams I honestly expect to be in the wild card race together. I don't think Montreal is levels ahead of the New York Islanders, but still, these are both teams that also expect to have big impacts from rookie players, which is why I think they're getting disrespected. With the Montreal Canadiens, Ivan Demidov is a big player who is going to make a big impact next season, and why I'm so excited about that is the Islanders have their own Russian in Maxim Shabanov, who put up 20 more points than Demidov in the KHL last season. So if Demidov is expected to tear it up, I'm really having high hopes for Shabanov. Long term, obviously, Demidov is 5 years younger than Shabanov. I definitely think he has a higher ceiling. But floor-wise, when it comes to next season in the NHL, I think I have high hopes for this player for the Islanders. And really, I think the interesting thing about the Islanders and why it's really hard to project what they're going to be next season is there was so much change from last year to this season. The Islanders no longer have Brock Nelson, one of their core players. They no longer have Noah Dobson. And bringing in a couple new players really makes the equation interesting when it comes to what they're going to be. But with splitting up Mat Barzal and Bo Horvat having two different centers in the top six, I think that's a recipe that can work really well, especially if Druin makes solid contributions, especially if Shabanov is what I think he is going to be. I think the Islanders are definitely getting slept on. Really, the idea of Pittsburgh being ahead of the Islanders is really ridiculous in my opinion, just because of the goaltending above everything else. Pittsburgh's goaltending is an absolute mess. They don't even know who's going to be their starter next season. Jari spent time in the minor leagues. To expect them to put more points up than the Islanders, I genuinely cannot see it. Really, I can make the argument for the Islanders being better than the Flyers, the Blue Jackets, and the Penguins just off goaltending alone. And we're not even talking about forward depth. The one thing about the Islanders compared to other teams really in the entire NHL is I don't see a weakness next season. Now, where the issue comes in is beyond goaltending, I don't necessarily see a strength. And in a year where I will note, looking at this projections and other projections, is expected to be a lot more, there's supposed to be a lot more parity. That's the word I'm looking for than previous years. You look, this projection, the lowest point projection is 70 points. In fact, the Islanders are in the bottom 6 in points with 81 compared to last season having 82. They were around the 10 mark exactly this season. I do think this is going to be a lot closer of a season in the NHL, which also does make it harder to project in terms of what teams are going to be, because if the bottom teams are getting more points, that means the teams higher up are getting left. I think it's going to be a battle of a season. Still, I think the Islanders are seriously getting underhyped, and a big part of that is just I think there is a lot to like in rookie players who could potentially make the team. And we're not even talking about Matthew, Schaefer, Callum Ritchie, players who can make big impacts, if not at the start of the season, down the stretch, especially Callum Ritchie after the trade deadline. compared to other teams, there's not going to be this big drop off for the Islanders after the trade deadline because whoever they trade is going to be replaced by Callum Ritchie. And when the college season ends, you're also going to get games from Cole Eisman. Lots to be excited about for the Islanders, which is why I think this projection is too low. Now, we do have another projection. This one, Jay Fresh is posting it, and this is based on FanDuel betting odds for over-under. And even at 85, I feel like 85 points is low for the Islanders. I think it's close to a good over-under, but I think an 87 is a bit more fair when it comes to betting the over. And at an 85, I would bet over for the Islanders just because looking at what happened last season, I think a big thing that's getting forgotten is everyone's pointed out who is no longer on the Islanders, but what we're not talking about enough is what actually went wrong. And if you look at last season, the Islanders, if they do not have an injury to half their defensive core at the same time for a span of 15 games, if Mat Barzal and Anthony Duclair don't go out and miss the entire season almost, especially playing together, we only got 4 games of what was supposed to be the first line last season. If that doesn't happen, I think this is a playoff team that makes 96, 95 points. I believe that's what the Islanders were. So as a result, I just feel like the current standing projection is too low. No, I don't think this team is perfect. I think there are flaws, and there are definitely more question marks when it comes to players like Noah Dobson no longer being on the team in particular. I do think adding Shabanov and just the players they're adding on offense, especially with the depth when it comes to rookie players, I do think that kind of mitigates the production that you would have gotten with Brock Nelson, especially the way he kind of took a step back last season. I think having Mat Barzal back and then just having Druin on the first line, that will replace the production in terms of what Brock Nelson provided. With Noah Dobson, there definitely is more of a question mark, although you could point out last season, Noah Dobson wasn't all that productive for the Islanders that season, so losing him really is not this blow. I do expect this team to be better, and I will note, not for nothing, if the Islanders are in the bottom 6 of the NHL, that is not really a worst case scenario. I would go ahead and say the only worst case scenario for this Islanders team is if they are the team that misses the playoffs by one singular point. That would be a disaster just because it is a perfect combination of disappointment, not seeing playoff hockey, and also not getting a great draft choice. Not for nothing, while I do think the Islanders can take a step up, and the reason why I want to see it is it'd be one thing if I'm expecting to be carried off the backs of players like Anders Lee and Palmieri. The reason why I kind of want to see the Islanders take a step up is because I think it's going to be off the back of younger players. Schaefer potentially having a strong rookie season, Shabanov having what I think is going to be a really impressive rookie year. Players like that, Isaiah George, off their back, Simon Holmstrom, you want to see improvement. Still, if the Islanders do end up with 81 points and end up with a 6th overall pick, I don't think we'll be complaining at all. Those are pretty good lottery odds in a year that Gavin McKenna is going to be available. And let me know in the comments what you want to see from the Islanders. Do you want to see more of an 87, potentially 90-point team, or would you rather see them maybe even get less than 81 points and try to get the best draft pick available? Speaking of the Islanders getting absolutely slept on, we do have to talk about the EA ratings this season for the EA game. Now, I'm not going to be getting this game just because I don't have a PlayStation 5. The Islanders definitely got smoked when it came to their player projections, and one in particular that is just completely disrespectful. Mat Barzal has an 86 overall in the game. He is ranked lower than Bo Horvat, Ryan Pulock, and Adam Pelech. Ryan Pulock is actually one of the best right-handed defensemen in the game. He is in the top 20. I think that's absolutely ridiculous at this point. I love Ryan Pulock as a player and as a person, but the fall off has been quite miserable at this point. Really, in the game, I wouldn't give Ryan Pulock a bit above an 83 if it was up to me. The way he played last season was not good. If he does bounce back, it would be really good for this Islanders core moving forward because he is signed for the next few seasons. I just don't see it happening. Mat Barzal, looking at it right now, his speed rating is actually lower than Bo Horvat's, with Bo Horvat's speed being a 91 and Mat Barzal's being an 87, also having lower acceleration than Bo Horvat. Honestly, absolutely ridiculous. I don't think the Pelech 87 is that off. I'd probably give him more of an 86, just because of what he is at this point. But this just shows there definitely is still value in Adam Pelech, but I don't. What really drives me nuts about these rankings is the Islanders' best defenseman last season, Alexander Romanov, is all the way down at an 84. I don't understand, even in terms of balancing the game out, because I'm sure that's what some of these rankings are. If you wanted a defenseman to have a higher overall, I don't know why you would make it Pulock over Alexander Romanov after the season that he had. That's definitely disrespectful. And another one you got to note, Kyle Palmieri is just like an 83 overall as a right wing. Lower than Siplikov after he had a really solid year putting up over 20 goals. Don't really understand those rankings, but let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And again, tell me what you think this Islanders season is going to be. Do you think one of these two rankings are accurate? One thing I'll note that also is not brilliant is Colorado is expected to do pretty good next year, which is something you have to keep in mind when it comes to the Islanders, because we do have their first round pick going into this season, which is also why I don't think it is the end of the world that the Islanders don't have the highest pick. The fact that they are going to have at least 2 first round picks going into this pretty deep draft. Would love to see Colorado a bit lower, though, to be honest. I think this is what Colorado is. I think they are a very good team, but you never know. They have been knocked out of the playoffs in the first round the past few seasons, and that is definitely what I'm hoping for. But with that being said, we're going to end this video. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm your host, Patrick Nilan. Catch you on the next episode of Islanders Digest. Let's go, Islanders.